This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. We begin this half hour with lawmakers in Washington getting ready to decide a landmark piece of LGBTQ legislation that would crush religious liberty. The House vote is expected tomorrow on what's known as the Equality Act, but there's also an alternative approach that would protect religious freedom. Senior National Affairs correspondent Heather Sells has more on that. Heather.
Yeah, Ephraim, the alternative is called Fairness for All. It's sponsored by Chris Stewart. He's a Republican congressman from Utah. And this approach would provide civil liberties for LGBTQ individuals, and it would also provide for people of faith.
I don't think it's going to pass through the Senate, and that opens up the opportunity for Fairness for All. We have bipartisan support for this. It's not just a Republican idea. It's not just a conservative idea. There are some of our Democratic colleagues who are going to join us on that. And once they see that they're not going to be able to force this upon the Senate, then that opens a door to look at an alternative.
The House is expected to pass the Equality Act as it did in 2019. The real battle will likely come in the Senate, Ephraim. And I want to note, it should be noted, too, that the Equality Act is not bipartisan. It has no Republican co-sponsors, and conservatives say that underscores just how radical this bill is. Ephraim.
Heather, question for you. How much support does the Fairness for All Act have right now?
Right. It's a really interesting political situation. Representative Stewart described it as really a sensitive, fragile and coalition. And part of the issue, Ephraim, is that conservatives like the Heritage Foundation, the Family Research Council, they are backing off from Fairness for All. They considered it just a watered down approach from Equality for All. So some conservatives are, for the Equality Act. So some conservatives are opposing both the Equality Act and Fairness for All.
So looking to the Equality Act, how much support does it have?
Right. OK. What's interesting here is that it is purely a Democratic bill in the House. And now on the Senate side, you are seeing moderate Republicans like Susan Collins, like Mitt Romney. They are backing off, citing religious liberty issues. At least Mitt Romney is. So that is a concern. But also, sources are telling me that there is growing GOP support for LGBTQ civil rights protection. So you see a lot of different dynamics coming together here. And indeed, I think the fight really will be in the Senate over this bill.
We'll be watching that for sure. We're also hearing that the Equality Act has an abortion mandate.
Yeah, this is the plot twist. Just found out today, started hearing from pro-life groups concerned about this bill. And I was thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. But actually, this bill, the Equality Act, would require that any health care provider or hospital that receives federal funds to stop what it calls pregnancy discrimination. And it eliminates religious protections for healthcare professionals that disagree. So, again, there's an abortion component to this bill that has conservatives concerned. And we also know that Planned Parenthood in recent years has really come alongside the transgender movement and has started advertising and offering hormone treatments out of their clinics. So there's really an enmeshment between the abortion industry and the transgender movement here.
Real quick, Heather, what do you think will happen in the Senate?
There's two possibilities, really. The senators could give this a full look and really debate it and try and vote on it, or they may just introduce it and use it as a wedge issue in the upcoming election, Ephraim.
All right, we'll be watching. Thank you so much for your reporting, Heather.
You're welcome.
A Pew Research study shows more than 50% of Americans rely on television and radio for their news, but some leaders on Capitol Hill argue there is dangerous misinformation coming from news outlets, and it's intensified the country's COVID-19 health crisis and led directly to the deadly Capitol Hill attack on January 6th. House Democrats held a virtual hearing today to examine, quote, disinformation and extremism in the media.
Let me put it bluntly. Misinformation is killing Americans and damaging our democracy. The First Amendment prohibits Congress from enacting laws abridging the freedom of speech, and I'm an ardent supporter of it. It does not, however, stop us from examining the public health and democratic implications of misinformation.
But First Amendment Advocates on the left and the right say while curbing misinformation is important, today's hearings pose a threat to free speech.
With this goal at hand, we are embarking upon a dangerous path of using this committee to attack the foundation of fact and further diminish trust in journalism. The antidote to bad speech is more speech.
The hearing kicked off today, and with California Democrats and others sending a letter to AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, and Cox, asking if they plan to continue carrying Fox, Newsmax, and One America News Network. They claim that those outlets serve as misinformation rumor mills and conspiracy hotbeds. Earlier this month, Lifetime Cable Network reportedly gave an ultimatum to D. James Kennedy Ministries: eliminate all controversial content or be pulled from the network. The ministry's weekly half-hour television series addressed abortion and other matters of concern to Christian social conservatives. But in recent weeks, that content has become problematic. The show is no longer on air. Joining me now to talk more about this is CEO and president of D. James Kennedy Ministries, Frank Wright. Dr. Wright, we appreciate your time. Your show was on Lifetime for about 3 years without complaint. What did they say was controversial about the programming now?
It started with their complaint about a program we produced at the end of January about the sanctity of human life. Typical because of the anniversary of celebration on the left and problematic attitude on the right of the Roe versus Wade decision from 1973. Almost always in January, we focus on the sanctity of human life. And we did a particular program on the David Leiden case, who did undercover photography showing Planned Parenthood executives showing prices for baby body parts that were for sale. And they Lifetime executives contacted us and said, that's too controversial, it's too graphic. We showed no graphic images whatsoever. And then you can no longer produce a program on abortion on our network. And by the way, we need to see the next 3 weeks of your program. Well, the next 2 weeks following in the schedule was a program on George Soros entitled Billionaire Radical, which we've talked about on CBN News before. We've actually even aired it. We aired it in October on the Lifetime Network. Nary a complaint. But all of a sudden, Billionaire Radical is no longer acceptable. A program on George Soros' influence on the media, no longer acceptable. Oddly enough, even a program on the spiritual life of George Washington was deemed unacceptable to them. And the ultimatum we received was basically, your programming going forward must have all non-controversial topics in order to continue to air on our network. You know, if you're a biblical Christian these days, there's not much in the culture that's not considered controversial. Everything from gender to marriage to you name it. And so we're no longer on the Lifetime Network because we were forced off of essentially what we consider to be viewpoint discrimination.
In an op-ed, you call this the new face of corporate responsibility in America. What did you mean by that?
Well, we've always had this idea that there's a free marketplace of ideas. It actually, that phrase or a derivative of it originated with John Newton back in the days when the English crown was prohibiting Bibles from being printed by certain folks. And Newton spoke about the marketplace of ideas, in which he said, good ideas tend to rise, bad ideas tend to fall. Truth never suffers in the free marketplace of ideas. And so we've always counted on corporate entities to understand America's heritage of free speech. The Declaration of Independence, in which Jefferson outlined rights that were inalienable because they were endowed by God, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So corporations in America have always held to those ideals, that liberty is our highest ideal, and especially as it relates to religious speech, because religious speech is the first one articulated in the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. These days, though, corporate entities are the new face of what George Orwell referred to in 1984, his book 1984, the new face of newspeak.
Yeah.
They speak a different language. The definitions have different meanings, and they're no longer willing to allow us to be heard in the marketplace of ideas.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. We are one step closer to a third vaccine to fight the pandemic, with Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine meeting FDA requirements. New analysis confirms the drug is 67% effective. The vaccine requires only one shot, while the Moderna and Pfizer brands need two. The FDA could authorize vaccine use as early as Saturday. After a year of weighing the impact of the pandemic, we are seeing how it has led to greater sexual exploitation. Those investigating the frightening trend have released what's called the Dirty Dozen list. As Paul Strand now shows us, it's clear skyrocketing use of the internet is contributing greatly.
We've known for years how pornography makes billions through the web. In looking at this year's National Center on Sexual Exploitation Dirty Dozen, the connection of giants like Amazon, Netflix, and Chromebooks to sexual exploitation should set off major alarms in homes across the country.
In a sad example of how the pandemic has put millions more children at risk of exposure to porn or being sexually exploited is the soaring use of Google Chromebooks for distance learning. But their safety features are often left turned off, or children find workarounds.
Parents and teachers often don't even realize that there's a problem until a student has shared pornography with another student, or they notice changes in their children.
Reddit calls itself the front page of the internet, but those releasing today's Dirty Dozen charge that Reddit acts more like a back page, as it serves as a hub where sex buyers find people to purchase and sexual predators distribute hardcore pornography, as well as non-consensually share images. Amazon's high ranking this year is due to the amount of sexual-themed material sold by the retail giant and the nudity and sex on Amazon Prime Video. There's also an issue with the way children are often targeted on Amazon's gamers platform, Twitch.
The number of children on the platform are below the minimum legal age. There are frequent conversations between children and strangers, with strangers daring kids to do explicit acts or to share their contact information.
OnlyFans made the Dirty Dozen list because many young people thrown out of work by the pandemic now use OnlyFans to sell images or videos of their bodies to make fast cash. Nevada returns to the list because of its legalized brothels. And Netflix is there because of the amount of sexually graphic or degrading content it continues to make available. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, prayer transforming college campuses. Hear how students and faculty are coming together in faith and prayer to see revival in our country.
Having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Welcome back. College students across the country will be uniting in prayer this week. It's all part of the National Collegiate Day of Prayer. This year's event is being hosted by our very own Regent University in Virginia Beach. The time of prayer will be simulcast live Thursday evening, February 25th, with various remote locations and Zoom rooms from across the country. Students and faculty from around the country will take part in the annual event. Joining us now is Dr. Josam Moreno-Riano, Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Regent University. So Regent is hosting this year's National Collegiate Day of Prayer, which will be held virtually. What can you tell us about the goal of the event?
Well, the goal is really to bring over 4,000 college campuses together and thousands of students, faculty, families to pray for our students, the students of America, and the colleges and universities of America for revival. Some of the greatest revivals in our country began in college campuses. And we think that universities are just pivotal to the future of our country, and its students are pivotal, obviously. So we want to really pray for the Lord to do a great work in the hearts and minds of all of us and our students and faculty and staff throughout America.
Talk about the need for this type of event, especially at this time in our country.
That's a great question. Universities have always been some of the most pivotal institutions in American history. But even before the founding, there were a dozen or so universities already in place or close to that. So universities are the intellectual centers of our country, research centers, educational centers for the future of America. So it's absolutely pivotal that we really come together and pray for these campuses. There are over 4,000 college campuses that we're going to be praying for. Students in those campuses will be praying tomorrow night. Campus ministries there are dozens of ministries involved. And we just need a great revival and outpouring of the Lord on our campuses, on our students' lives, on faculty's lives for the future of our country and the future well-being of higher education. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Talk about some of the participation a little bit. What's the response been?
It's been fantastic. I mean, this is, Dr. Bob Bakke and his whole team from the National Collegiate Day of Prayer have done a fantastic job. There are dozens of campus ministries across, all these campuses and colleges bringing people together. The goal is to, in essence, adopt a campus, and there are over 4,000 campuses being adopted for this year, and then to pray for that college campus throughout the year. So I think they're well on their way to that meeting that goal, and I think tomorrow night we'll even push this even further. And then, so the participation has been fantastic. There are churches, there are individuals, homes, families participating. And the goal is really to be praying around the clock every day of the year for America's colleges and universities. The outpouring has been great, and we expect a great event tomorrow.
Are there specific areas of prayer or focus for these prayers?
Absolutely. So we're praying, obviously, for revival. I think it's the big one for us to worship the Lord and praise the Lord. So music will be a part of the event tomorrow, but a humbling of ourselves and our students and universities to the Lord, revival and outpouring of His Spirit, confession and repentance, and for the kingdom and the gospel of our Lord to be center stage in all that we do. So a lot to pray about, as you can imagine, and a great opportunity for Regent University to be a part of this event.
Very nice to be a part. Dr. Moreno-Riano, thank you so much for your time. The Collegiate Day of Prayer is set for Thursday, February 25th, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For more information, simply go to our website, cbnnews.com. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Watch On the Home Front today at 2:30.
often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
1 year ago, white men in pickup trucks chased down a black man who was jogging through his South Georgia neighborhood. They confronted Ahmaud Arbery with a shotgun and killed him as he tried to defend himself. His mother, Wanda Jacob Cooper, is now filing a federal lawsuit against the men, seeking justice for her son. CBN's Eric Phillips talked with her to hear her thoughts on the tragic anniversary.
Wanda Cooper Jones is resolved to see the legal process through until the end. One thing she's not done is watched the video of her son's last few moments of life. She says she's not yet strong enough to see what she calls a demonstration of evil.
It's a feeling I never felt before. I never want to feel it again.
According to an old saying, time heals all wounds. Wanda Cooper Jones, however, is finding the exact opposite as she looks back on a year since her son, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, was gunned down in the street.
It's getting harder because in the beginning it was a whole lot of interviews. Ahmaud's killers could face additional sentencing. I think basically I was in shock.
But that's no longer the case, as now she feels everything.
I've lost a part of myself, and I'm getting a reality check of that every day.
In February of 2020, Arbery was jogging through this neighborhood near Brunswick, Georgia. After he was spotted by Greg and Travis McMichael, investigators say the father-son duo went after Arbery in their truck. A neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, followed along, capturing it on cell phone video. The McMichaels claim they thought Arbery was a neighborhood burglar, and when they caught up to him, the video shows Travis firing 3 shots, the last one during a struggle before the jogger collapsed. Cooper Jones says on the initial phone call, authorities said her son had been involved in a burglary, that a struggle ensued over a weapon, and that he'd been shot and killed.
He wasn't armed, and he didn't have any stolen goods in his possession. So why was he killed? I believe Ahmaud was killed because he was black. The Satilla Shores is a predominantly white neighborhood.
She believes her suspicions were confirmed during a court proceeding when a detective testified about what defendant and videographer William Bryan says he heard co-defendant Travis McMichael say right after pulling the trigger.
He heard Travis McMichael make the statement, "F***."
I didn't realize hate was that close to where I was raising my kids. I didn't realize that type of hate was so close.
Just weeks ago, this police body cam video emerged with one of the defendants explaining that this attempt at talking turned deadly.
If he would have stopped, that's fine. That's fine.
The McMichaels and Bryan are in jail awaiting trial on murder charges. Cooper Jones says it's taken a lot of faith to see the case this far. The shooting happened in February, and as the mother frantically made phone calls seeking justice, the case stalled for 2 months, bouncing around from one DA to another. She couldn't even get a civil attorney to call her back.
At the end of each day, I prayed. I knew. When, I didn't know, but I knew that he would come through. And it worked out just like I said. He brought us through.
Finally, an attorney took the case. Then it exploded onto the national scene in May after the cell phone video made it to the media. Crowds demonstrating across the country.
Major turning point, because I do believe that without the video, we wouldn't have a arrest today. I would just tell anybody to just trust God. Trust him, because he will see you through.
Clean your face off and let him check in.
As for the defendants,
they are the Bible speaks of evildoers, and they just were evildoers. I want them to go to jail forever. They need to pay for what they've done.
Curiously, though, this mother says she does have a question she wishes she could ask the father, Greg McMichael.
What did you guys discuss at the dinner table when he was a child? What did you guys talk about? Was it love thy neighbor? Was it any type of love? Because you failed him. You failed him.
She says she will not fail to do her level best to get justice for her son.
My last words to Ahmaud was, I will find out what happened. Each time Ahmaud's name is called in court, I will be in court. I have to be Ahmaud's voice. Ahmaud's not here.
The mother says her son had been involved in trouble in the past, but that he was working through that jogging was actually therapeutic for him. In the aftermath, she has sold her house and moved from South Georgia. She says she no longer felt safe there because of threats against her family. In Washington, Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Still ahead, why one Texas couple opened up their doors to a complete stranger during the state's biggest winter storm. We've got this story for you. Stay with us.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're gonna bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Hillsborough Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
One Texas delivery driver says she is amazingly blessed after a couple offered to allow her to stay in their home during last week's winter storm. Chelsea Timmons was delivering her last grocery order to Nina Richardson and Doug Condon's home when her vehicle crashed into a tree in their yard. The couple offered to allow Chelsea to wait inside until a tow truck came, but several hours of waiting turned into 5 days. The couple opened their guest room to Chelsea, cooked her dinner every night, and they said she soon became part of the family. Chelsea is back at home now and says the couple were guardian angels who blessed her during a tough time. Such a beautiful story. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make this a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody. God bless, and have a rest of the week that is filled with joy. Bye-bye.